Hello everyone, we would be starting in next 2 minutes. So any of your friends who are yet to join in, please ask them to do the same. Okay, hello everyone. I hope we are ready to begin for today. Yes. Okay. I would request everyone to switch on the video cameras, and whenever we have anything to say, please make sure that we are unmuting and talking so that that leads to better communication also. Okay, great. So can we revise whatever we did yesterday? Anyone, whatever you all remember from yesterday's session?
Ma'am, can I?
Yes. Yes, please. Yes, you can.
Ma'am, yesterday we discussed about what is research, which is basically a scientific and systematic process for investigating any phenomenon to reach to a conclusion. Then we discussed the two types of research, the qualitative and the quantitative. The qualitative deals with the non-numerical basis, like attitude, thinking style, or personality, and whereas the quantitative deals with the cause-effect relationship and with basically with the numbers. It helps to predict, basically the predict and difference between the our results. It deals with it. And next we discussed about correlational research, and which is basically about the relationship between any two variables. Correlation may be positive, negative, or zero. And then we discussed about the experimental design and control group, experimental group, pre-test, post-test, then randomized and repetitive designs.
Okay, great. So that was more or less the summary of the entire session. We are just missing on one point. Does anybody remember that?
Ma'am, can I?
Yes.
We also talked about in IV and DV.
Okay.
And you also
Apart from that.
told us, told us to prepare a list for the same. Also, we talked about that there is no variable which could be classified in both the methods of research, whether it is quantitative or qualitative. And then lastly, we talked about mixed research, which follows both the methods, quantitative and qualitative. Basically, for example, first we administer the scale and then followed by interview or any sort of qualitative method.
Correct. Correct. So both the methods of data collection are used when it comes to mixed research design. And a small rectification: there is no variable name. There is no specific variable for qualitative and quantitative, or no specific variable into the area of qualitative or quantitative. We can study any variable with any method. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, great. So, do we remember the agenda for today? Have we read the brochure that was put up on the social media websites or anything? Yes. What is going to happen in today's session? Do we remember that?
You're told to prepare a list of variables.
Okay. So basically, we are going to discuss frameworks of proposal. Okay. So we are going to discuss how to form research topics and how to develop a research proposal. Okay. I will just put it in the chat box. Okay, so I will start with the second point first, because I think that is again more of a lecturing method that we had done yesterday, and then with the activity, that is how to form your research topic, we can do it at the end so that everyone gets a chance to say and discuss out things, because discussion will take time and we will lose out on the last part probably. So I'll quickly finish about the topic on how to develop a research proposal, or rather how to write your research paper. First and foremost, understand the difference between writing a research proposal and writing a research, okay, be it a thesis or a dissertation or a paper or anything. Proposal only includes your idea. It only includes half part of the research. Okay, I will first tell you what it means by writing a full dissertation or a research paper or a thesis, so that you will understand what is half of it. Generally, we follow the criteria, or we write only those points that the particular institute requires. So there are different, or there are slightly different formats or modifications as per whether you're giving the paper for publication, whether you're giving the paper for presenting it in a conference, whether you're giving it as your academic, or whether you're giving it elsewhere for some other purpose, right? So the format depends on that. So I will just give you an overall format that generally is there, or on all the places. First is we write introduction. In introduction, we generally write a brief introduction to the topic or the research proposal that we are going to school, or rather than saying school, it falls into the cognitive domain of psychology, right? So we start our introduction by writing what is cognitive psychology, what all are the variables or factors that we study. So we have perception, imagery, thinking, whatever, attention, etc., etc., learning, memory, okay, right? So we mention all of those points, and the current research focuses on perception. Then we write about the perception part. Then we write about a different variable. So whether you're studying the effect of perception on, say, depression, for example. So then you will write about depression. Depression comes from the clinical school of thought, or the clinical domain of psychology. So then we will write a small summary of what is clinical, what does clinical psychology as a subject or domain include. So it includes disorders, it includes a lot of psychopathology. And then we will talk depression is one of the factors in clinical psychology, and then we will focus totally on depression. Then we will write what is depression and all of those things. So your introduction is custom made as per your idea of the research. Okay. Have you all understood? If not, please ask me the doubts. Otherwise, I will assume that we have understood the part of introduction. Okay. The third point that we write in the introduction is, or rather the second point, the first point is writing about the domains from which we have picked up the variables and also including the information of the variables.
Are you talking about how to write a proposal?
Yes, I am talking about in general how to write your research paper.
Not proposal.
Not proposal as of now.
Okay.
Yeah. Research paper is a full length paper. A proposal is just half of it. So I will first explain the full length paper so that you immediately understand what is the remaining half. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Like I said, just a review, your research format might change a bit depending upon where and for what purpose you're submitting it. For academics, the format is slightly different. For research paper presentation, for publication, it is slightly different. If you're going for some competitions, it is slightly different. So it also depends on the institute in which you're giving the paper. Sometimes the institute comes up with their own format, that they don't want an introduction of more than one page. In that case, we just skip the domains. We only write the basic important lines which are related to our variables. Okay, so that is something that you will have to figure out for what purpose and to which institute are you giving the research paper, whether they have any criteria, whether they have any specific format made by themselves, and then you will have to stick to that in that case. Right, I'm just giving you a general a general overview. The first point is the introduction, wherein we write about the domain from which we have picked up the variables, something related to the variables. The third point is writing about certain theories. So for example, if you're doing a research on memory, we have short-term memory theory, we have Atkinson-Shiffrin model, we have working memory theories, we have long-term memory theories. So depending upon which study you are doing, if you're doing a study on semantic memory, then you will have to write the theories with respect to the semantic memory. So what all is included in the semantic memory, how it is formed. So you will have different theories of that. So we write different theories, or we have different models, like motivation has the hierarchy of motivation given by Maslow. So that is a model, it is a pyramid, it is not really a theory. Yes, some people or some books do call it theory of motivation by Maslow. It's okay, it's just the differences in the terms. So what I mean to say is you can write a theory or a model to support your variable. The third thing that we write in the introduction is about the sample. We do not write the sample size, or more than the sample, I would say the population. So if you're doing your study on, say, lawyers, so you will write something about lawyers. Why have you selected this particular population only? We have so many sectors of population. We have military, we have IT, banking, LGBT, child, geriatric, and whatnot. Whatever you pick up from the society is a population. We have marital couples, we have single, we have divorce. So whatever you pick up from the society is going to be a part of the population. So out of this, why have you chosen lawyers, or why have you chosen bankers? Whatever is your population. So we write a brief part on the population and why have we chosen the particular population, and how do we link those population with the variables. So for example, you can say that lawyers are generally the people who get into cases, who get into all the negative sides. So their perception generally becomes a very negative perception is what I think. And that is the reason I have clubbed perception along with depression among lawyers. Okay, whatever your reasoning is. Okay, that's it about introduction. The second part, we write review of literature. I think there is no rocket science in this particular thing to discuss. We just write the past researches conducted on the variables. It may be perception and anxiety. Okay, not a problem. You can take it as a review of literature for just to back up the variable of perception. You have depression and memory. That is also okay. You have perception and depression together. That is also okay. So whichever past researches that are very much close to the idea that you want to study or that you are writing in your paper could be taken as review of literature. Some papers do not require review of literature. They have a length format. So some institutes wherein you will go for research paper presentation or competitions or whatever, they will ask just give your research in 5 pages. In this case, you can totally skip review of literature. That is not a problem. Of course, if they have demanded in the format, you will have to. That is the reason I'm again and again telling you, I cannot give you a specific format as this is it. This is the guideline. I cannot give you that because it depends on the institute you're going and the purpose for which you're doing the research. Okay. Review of literature is about that. Then we come to the research method. In the research method, we write all the details of the research, including the alternate null hypothesis, alternate hypothesis, our variables, our independent dependent variables, or if it is a correlation model, then it is a predictor and a criterion. Then we write the information related to the samples. I am going to take the questions only at the end, so please do not put it in between. It just breaks the link. Right now we are on a very important part. Okay, we write everything about the samples. So my samples are lawyers, then I will conduct research on 100 lawyers, 200 lawyers, whatever. So we write the sample size, the type of sampling, snowball sampling, purpose of sampling, randomized, whatever convenient, whatever is your way of sampling. We write inclusion criteria, exclusion criteria. Inclusion, I'm just going to include men lawyers because I want to just have my study on how men perceive depression or whatever it is. So in your inclusion comes only the men lawyers, the women lawyers are excluded. So in our exclusion part, that counts. If you have a range of 20 to 30-year-old lawyers, then those falling below 20 and above 20 are in your exclusion criteria. So that comes as your sample. Research design, you can write. Research design we had completed yesterday. Any design what is a pre-test post-test model, and the current study incorporates the same. Then we write the statistical technique that we are using. If we are doing a qualitative study, your research design will include that it is a qualitative study, so you will not have any statistics. If you are using any kind of a mean or whatever, a percentage or any kind of descriptive statistic, then you can just include that in the statistical part. Procedure you can write, so whatever it is, I will first administer the scale, then in the intervention phase I will administer these modules, and I will again give the post test, then I will score, then I will interpret, whatever is the procedure. So you will write an entire procedure part into the procedure title. Then we have limitations. So what are the weaknesses of the research, or what are the limitations of the research? So it could be anything that the current study is only done on lawyers, so we do not have how other parts of the population apart from lawyers perceive certain things and get depressed or do not get depressed or whatever is it. Right, so those are the limitations and future directions or scope of your research. It can be replicated with other variables on other populations or whatever you want to write as a scope. That's about research method. Your proposal ends here. It's just a proposal, you're just giving an idea. Your proposal ends here. The entire paper just includes one part, which is results and discussion. Results is nothing but if you have conducted a statistical analysis, if you have conducted a t-test, so you will write this is a score of t-test at degrees of freedom, whatever, 100, 200, 45. This is the score, my results are significant, therefore alternate hypothesis is accepted. If my results are not significant, then null hypothesis is accepted. Result part ends. Then you will write the discussion. Why have you got these researches? So in the discussion, your theories that you have written in the introduction, your review of literature, that is the past researches that you have written in the ROL part, will help you to write your discussion. Discussion is nothing but your understanding of how the two variables are related. It is extremely made by the researcher. By made, I don't mean fake. By made, I mean it is not there anywhere. It is your understanding. You have to make the links. You have to form the links logically, depending upon the theories that you have written and by reading the past researches. So this is the way we write any research paper. Like I said, proposal is just the half part of it. So you only write till the research method and you end. That is your proposal. You are just proposing the idea. You don't have any results to conclude. The last part after research and discussion is the conclusion, wherein you just write so and so were the results and perception seems to have a significant impact on depression if your results are significant. If not, you can say that there are various other factors apart from perception. There were perception in the current study. A summary of your entire paper or your entire proposal that you are writing. Am I clear? It was a huge monologue, but am I clear? Any doubts?
And where is the abstract given?
Abstract is not given. You have to make the abstract and write.
Yes, ma'am. Where is the abstract placed? Means
at the top, before the introduction. So you have the first page, which is the title page of your research. Qualification, whatever is again demanded by the institute. Sometimes they don't demand any. And after the title page is your abstract. After the abstract, then you start with your introduction. If you're writing it for a thesis, then you have a lot of other things like your table of contents and your bibliography and your acknowledgements for the people you have helped out, and there are a lot of other things. So, like I said, I am just giving you a general overview of it. Okay, great. Now I will take the question: can we use table format for review of literature? No, that is not allowed until and unless if the particular research format demands you to write in a table, then it is a different story. But APA, as far as I know, does not allow writing the review of literature in a tabular format. Was abstract and research proposal the same? No, no. Abstract is a summary of the entire paper, entire research proposal. Research proposal involves your abstract, the title page, the abstract, the intro, the ROL, and the research method. Am I clear? Dinesh Varan was the person. So
That's
am I?
not clear.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I'm sorry, I cannot see your video camera, so I don't know how you all look. Whether you're elder to me, smaller to me. I'm taking the names here. I don't wish to disrespect anyone. Uh, do we have to include references in research proposal? Yes, references. I am coming to references. References have to be written in the format that is given to you. Now APA has a different style of referencing. MLA, which is generally the Chicago format, which we don't use in 99.99% cases. Sometimes they would demand that, or if you are going for an international conference in Canada or those countries that follow the MLA pattern, then there you will have to write. So references is something that you will have to check in which format have they demanded. Correct. So if it is an APA format, you have an APA style of referencing. You can Google it and you will get it anywhere. You also have APA referencing style, certain APA machine or some applications and websites you have. You can just put your URL and it just generates the APA format for you. So you don't have to actually sit and write also. So yes, references compulsorily comes even at the end of research proposal and even at the end of the research paper. So now I will give you the entire overview once again, and then I will take the further questions. We begin with, so for the research proposal, I'm just talking about the proposal. We begin with the title page, we begin with the abstract, which are compulsory. You cannot skip it irrespective of any research for any institute for whatever purpose. Then we have introduction, we have review of literature, and we have research methodology. And then we have references, again, whichever institute, whatever purpose, wherever you're doing, references are compulsory in the given format. This is about the proposal. About the full length paper, whatever you call it, thesis, dissertation, full length research paper, whatever the criteria is, title page, abstract is again compulsory. Table of contents is optional. That again depends. If it is a thesis, you have to. If it is a paper, they might ask you to skip. So that depends. Introduction, review of literature, research method, results and discussion, conclusion. Now here we write conclusion because we are having something to conclude, because we have collected, analyzed and interpreted the data. In proposal, we cannot conclude anything. We can just idealize, we can just hypothesize that this might lead to this. So we don't write any conclusions. Okay, so after R&D comes, R&D is result and discussion. After R&D comes conclusion, and again references are compulsory. Am I clear with the entire format of both the things? I hope I am. Okay. Now I'm taking the further questions. Do we have to include appendix and the content index? Like I said, it is optional. It depends on the institute whether they have demanded it. You have to. In thesis and dissertation for masters, MPhil, PhD, or even if bachelor's students are doing, it is compulsory. In most of the colleges and institutes, whichever I have visited so far, is compulsory. Right, but others it depends. Can you suggest any sites for searching research paper? Was there any free publishing sites? I'm sorry, I did not get your question. Maybe if you could explain me by unmuting, that would be clearer.
Ma'am,
Any? Yeah.
ma'am, is there any free sites to publish our thesis or research works?
Okay, you're talking about the publication. Yes, there are no sites, I won't call it sites, but you have a lot of journals which also give you free of cost publications. But again, you will have to check with the credibility of the journal, and you will also have to check with whether that journal supports the topic, or it's vice versa. Actually, you will have to see whether the topic on which you have made the research is available in the journal. So you cannot give an finance related research topic in a marketing journal, or in a, but you can give it in a general management ka journal, right? So you will have to check with that. But yes, there are free journals, there are free spaces where you can definitely publish, but check whether they are giving you those ISBN numbers, they are giving you certain unique identity numbers, they are giving you DOI numbers, because they are more credible in the source. They are more credible institutes or journals that give you publications. What about article presentation? If you're talking about presenting your research paper, that again requires either a poster or a PPT or a oral presentation, and mostly the format for it comes from the institutes. So far when I have attended various international conferences and presented my own papers, they have different formats. So in one of the conferences, I had 30 minutes to present. So I had presented my entire paper right from my abstract and introduction to my conclusions, and then they had a Q&A session and whatnot. In some of the paper presentations in the conferences, they had asked me to just tell me the theory on which it is based. So even a small, not even 1/4 part of the introduction, totally skip research review, that is review of literature. Method, they had just asked me to again explain it in short, that is what is my sample, what is my IVDB, and what is my hypothesis, and then directly focus on result and discussion in detail. So article presentation again totally depends on what you have done. Can you suggest any sites to find research papers? You have a lot of them. You have ResearchGate, you have Science Direct, you have NIHM, I think, if I'm not wrong. So there are various sites. Just Google and you will get most of the research papers for free. Have you published in a journal? Yes, I have published in one of the journals where I had been for the conferences. Okay, the other things that you can also write in research method, again, they are optional. The information of your scale. So if you're using any scale or any tests, then you can also write information with respect to that. Who developed it? When did that person develop the test? How many items, what is the scoring criteria? So 1 is strongly agree, 2 is agree. So whatever it is, what is the reliability, validity? You can also write operational definitions of your IVDB. So like I said, all these small things are again optional. So one of the research papers that I gave had a limit of just 7 pages. 7 pages is very small. It's actually very tiny. So in 7 pages, I cannot fit everything. So I had to totally skip all these factors of research method. I just wrote the hypothesis and sample, and in one line I explained what is the name of my IV and DV, and that's it. I skipped everything. I skipped limitations, procedures, everything. So that is a call that you will have to take depending upon how much matter you have and how many number of pages you have to fit that matter into. There are certain organizations or conferences who do not have any limit on the page. So you can give them a 50-page research model, you can give them a 100-page research model or a 10-page model. That is totally up to you. So in that case, then you can take a call again of whether you want to write everything in detail or not. I have not conducted. Yes, I have conducted one qualitative. Sorry, recently. So there is one. I have conducted all 3 quantitative, mixed research as well as qualitative. Procedure is the same. Like I said yesterday, we collected the data through interviews. We had 1.5 hour interviews with our participants. So I and one of my co-authors did that, and then we then on the basis of the entire data, we sorted the entire thing into certain themes, like we discussed yesterday, certain main points under which we wrote the discussion. Is validity, reliability necessary? Yes. If you're using any test, psychometric properties of the tests are mandatory. You cannot use unstandardized tests. You cannot just make your home production and use it. That is not allowed. You require a psychometrically standardized sound test. Even a validity or reliability of 0.3, 0.2 is not going to work. It has to be at least above 0.5 or 0.6. At least, worst case, I mean. Okay, are we done with the questions? We have to start with our activity.
Ma'am, for the dissertation, is the same pattern followed?
Yes. So like I said, it depends. No, in dissertation you will have appendix, you will have bibliography, you will have acknowledgements, you will have table of contents, and a lot of other things. That again depends on the. Like I said, it depends on the institute and the purpose totally. But yes, the basic crux of it remains the same.
Ma'am, can you tell me how to write an acknowledgement? It's so confusing.
Acknowledgement is a general thing that this was the research conducted by me for whatever purposes, for my academic purposes, masters, and these are the people who have helped out in my research. So I like what I express my heartfelt gratitude towards them. So just acknowledging certain people's contributions into it. So it may be your guide, it may be all your participants. That is all the entire sample. It could be anyone. So if you are doing a research on government body, there could be people who have worked for you to gain the permissions from the higher officials, right? So you can include, you may or may not include their names. That totally depends on you and the kind of research you're doing. So if you go into a military organization or a CBI or a police, in that case you cannot really include their names. You can just thank the institution, that I thank the so and so cadre person of the police, the IPS officer, or whosoever that person is, to give me the permissions. So that is again thoda depends upon the kind of sample you have.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, anything more? Fair. Okay, so let's now move on to the next agenda of the day. There is my message. Okay, so how to form research topics. Now, which variables to select, which population to select, and how to go about. So writing a research paper is comparatively easy because you have direction. I want to write on this topic. This is my design. This is the way I've collected the data. This is my interpretation. It's just putting things into words. So I would say writing a paper or a proposal is way easier than forming your research topic. Now, there are certain important things that we need to remember in general about how to form a research topic. First of all, if you are doing a research paper or a research proposal for a particular conference, competition, or anywhere where they have specified the topics, then you have no choice but just pick up on those topics. Those topics could be the domains like clinical psychology, cognitive psychology, and counseling psychology. I will again address the questions at the end. So if they have just put in the domains, under those domains, you can select whichever topic you want of your choice. Okay, then if they have just mentioned clinical, you can take depression, you can take anxiety, schizophrenia. If it is cognitive, perception, thinking, memory. If it is say industrial, you can take anything like well-being of the employees, job structure, job task, whatever you want, that falls under the domain. Sometimes they also allow cross-domain or cross-sectional research. That is, you can pick up one variable from clinical, one variable from industrial. So whether employee well-being programs or whether employee well-being interventions have an impact on the depression or anxiety that employees face. So it is a culmination of industrial psychology topic, which is well-being of the employees, and a clinical psychology topic, which is depression. So it totally depends on where you're going for research, because they also have certain criteria. Certain institutes, organizations, conferences keep it open. You can take any topic in the world that falls under psychology. Then that is again up to you, whatever you select. Second most important criteria to form a research topic or to select the variables and the population is your area of interest. That is like the topmost priority that we should give if we have the entire freedom to select the topic. For your thesis, there are some colleges and universities that give the researcher the full freedom and liberty to select their topics. There are certain who give domains and from there students have to select. So that again totally depends on your luck, where you are going in the college or university. But if you have the whole freedom and liberty to choose, please take up the topics of your own interest. By topics, I mean variables as well as the population. So if I am interested in military psychology, I can take up military psychology. I will collect data from the militaries on the respective variables that I want to study. If I am interested in studying LGBT population, I will take up that. So your area of interest matters the most, because that is the core part through which your research is going to go good. Okay, if you're not interested in a topic, it is going to go wrong. Not wrong, it's going to go bad. You will not be motivated to do it. So interest is another factor. Third thing, please, as far as possible, select research topics that are new. So, effect of stress on anxiety, effect of stress on depression, effect of stress on whatever, schizophrenia, whatever you take up, effect of stress on work-life balance. All these topics are done pretty much. I mean, they are done to an extent that probably there is nothing new left to find out in topic is. What do I mean by this? Review of literature is past researches. Many people have done it. So what are you adding on to the research? Research as a field is not for those who are not interested. I will be very honest. Research is a field for those people who want to add something new. There are people know what you want and try getting something out of your research. Please do not just do it for the sake of doing it for marks or for whatever purpose. Find out, even if you take the topic as perspective, focus on what your paper is adding on to the field of stress and depression and in general clinical and psychology. Right? Focus on what unique aspect is your paper giving to the field. That is the most important rationale or aim of forming your research topic. So while you're forming a research topic, take up samples, take up population, take up variables, or even variables and population both, which are less researched, which are new in the field. So even if you're studying stress on depression, maybe the effect of stress on depression is not studied in astronauts, for example. So that is an addition that you are giving in the field. Right? It is very much studied on children, adolescents, marital couples, workaholics, whatever, all sorts of people, right? Even it might be studied on astronauts. I'm just giving it as an example. So focus on the point which is left. Focus on the point on which you don't have much data, because that is the point which you have to actually hit and add on. Okay, this is something that I don't think anyone would tell you. I have learned this from my experience. No one's told me that you have to hit the point that is not yet reached. You are lacking in that in terms of your data. So always hit that point. So these are 3 general instructions of how to form a research topic. One, it depends on the institute to which you are giving. If they have a criteria, you ought to follow it. Otherwise, you are out of the competition, disqualified. If you have the freedom and liberty, your interest area is the first and foremost thing. But along with interest, you have the third thing. Less data is your point of focus. Okay. Am I clear with this? Any doubts with this? Where do you find research article? I think I've already addressed this question. You can go on any websites. Most of the websites have free articles. Okay. Any questions with whatever discussed so far, right? From the first minute. Anything? No? Okay, great. So now let's begin. I asked about your work. Published. So what do you mean by my work?
Yes, ma'am, you published it.
I had actually published in a journal, so I have a hard copy of it. I don't know if they also have a online journal. I'll have to check with them. It's a International Journal of Military Psychology and Counseling.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, fine. Any more questions? If not, we will begin with our activity. So I hope you all have come up with certain topics. Yesterday I had asked you all to come up with certain topics. Now I want you all to open the list of those topics, check pick up any three or four or two. So in research, you must actually have two topics. That is mandatory. You cannot just have one topic in research. I mean, you have to study the effect of something on something, right? So there have to be two. So I think this is extremely logical that we need minimum of two topics, two variables. Sorry, let's speak technical now. So pick up any two variables. I will give you 2 minutes. Think and try to form a connection. Try to think, why am I why am I taking these two variables together? What is the link between it? And how will be they related? Whether they will have a positive or a negative correlation, or what is it? What will cause this variable to have an impact on this? So just think about all these things. I will give you 2 minutes. At 8:45, you all will respond. Okay, Arthi, if at all I don't give, if at all I forget this query of yours, do let me know. I will definitely take it. If anyone completes before time, please feel free to raise your hand so that we can start discussing.
Ma'am, may I?
Yes.
Ma'am, effect of sleep on happiness.
Okay, fine. What is the connection between the two according to you? I don't want any theories and models as of now. I don't want any scientific evidences to it. I just want to know, why have you linked sleep fine.
There is a positive relationship between sleep and happiness.
Okay. Now, so please take care of the statements that we all are making. There is a positive relationship between sleep and happiness. Do you know it for sure? Do you know whether having correlation? All the papers have stated the same thing, or there are papers who might have given you negative or zero correlation statistically. I know we are not searching for ROL right now, but start being cognizant of the statements that we are making. We don't have research backup right now. We don't have statistical evidences right now. So let's put it in a proposal format that the researcher hypothesizes that we make when we are actually forming a topic. If you make a statement, sleep has a positive relationship with happiness, this is a conclusion that you're making. Are you having the data to support it? No. So here is where the thought process. Okay, Adrita? Fine. Now, first and foremost, even after selecting the two topics, the first step that we have to do is we have to see what kind of an idea we have. Do I want to study the effect of sleep on happiness, or do I want to study the effect of happiness on sleep? So if I'm satisfied kind of a relationship between the two variables am I looking for? Without that, the entire design is going to go wrong. If you want to say that I want to first the effect of happiness on sleep, not sleep on happiness, right? So how you want your research approach? What is the final goal of your research? What do you find out? Right? Okay. Anyone else?
Ma'am,
Yes.
ma'am, work motivation, to study the effect of work motivation.
Riya, Chitra. Okay, wait. Both of you unmute for a second. There are two people talking at the same time, so I would request people to raise their hands from now. Ria, I'm not able to hear you. There are a lot of echoing issues. So can you please put your answer in the chat box?
Can I tell about students? Students like variables like background differences, mood, anxiety, intelligence, awareness. These are the variables for the student psychology.
Okay, students. So you gave me a few variables. Could you just repeat the topic? Which factors effect do you want to study on which other variable? Have you formed a title statement or you have just picked up the variables as of now?
I
Give me
just picked up students, anxiety, intelligence, awareness.
Okay. Now see, we have to understand one thing. There are too many factors. The model gets complicated. It's okay if you want to study 10 factors also. If your goal is to understand how mood and awareness have an impact on the intelligence, then these 3 factors are more than enough. We don't have to complicate our research with other factors. So now we to study the effect of changed mode of working from offline to online on the work motivation of the employees. Okay, great. So you want to study the effect of mode of working on work motivation of the employees. Great. So your title is pretty much clear to me. So I assume that your goal is to understand whether offline leads to better work motivation or whether online leads to better work motivation. First thing, we don't have to form the title. We are very busy and very immediate to form the titles, the effect of this on this, the impact of this on this, or the relationship between this to this. We are very quick in doing that. That is not the correct way. We have to first finalize the approach or the goal of the research. What do I want to find out? And then select which variable will be the IV and which will be the DVO, which is the predictor and which is the criteria. Correct. The third thing now is to understand whether I just want to have a relationship between the two or whether I want to have a cause and effect factor between the two, because that is the third step that is going to decide the design of your model. So in this case, Ria is saying she wants to study whether offline leads to more work motivation or online leads to more work motivation. So there are differences of means. One mean or one score is of the offline batch and one score is of the online batch. So she is studying a t-test model, which is maybe a control group experimental group model, or which is just the differences between the two means. Making rational choices and give positive effect in performance, thus reducing the anxiety. Okay, Subhadeep, I want you to unmute and explain me what is the goal of your research. Yes, am I audible to you? No, sir. Okay, network issues, fine. Death, anxiety, and well-being in people suffering from COVID-19 pandemic. Okay, fair enough. So again, decide the goal of your research, whether you want to study whether people with higher well-being have greater death anxiety because I would be at the risk and I have an amazing life going on, so what it is. Or whether people having lower well-being will have death anxiety more because I have low immunity, I have so many health problems, so COVID might attack me. So there are both the angles. So you will have to check. Or whether the third angle is whether death anxiety is going to have a positive or a negative impact on their well-being. Some people with death anxiety will actually start taking care of themselves even more, and their well-being will increase in a way. Some people with death anxiety will actually be shattered, and their well-being will also go down. So you will have to first find out the approach of your research. How about study of cause and effect, existential crisis or anxiety? I am not understanding the question. Cause and effect is a design. You don't have to use the words cause and effect in the title. And existential crisis or anxiety, are these two separate variables, or is there an or, so it is just one single variable?
No, ma'am, one single variable.
So you will also require another variable. So if existential crisis is a cause, you will have to have another variable to study the effect. So where is the second variable? That is what I said in the starting. In research, it is quite logical that there are two variables mandatorily. Correct?
Yes,
If I want to study the impact of, if I push someone, how much it hurts. But I cannot directly study how much it hurts. I will have to have a person to push and then study how much it hurts. So there are two. The act of pushing and then the result is hurting. So you have the act, you have existential crisis. I want you to think of a topic, of a variable, that will be the effect. Or vice versa, you have the effect, which is existential crisis, and now I want a variable that will cause existential crisis.
Ma'am?
Please think of that. Yeah.
Ma'am, can I use the effect as a COVID-19 situations?
COVID-19 situations is the effect. As in, you
Yes,
want
ma'am.
to study how existential crisis have an effect on COVID-19.
No, ma'am. COVID-19 has effect on existential
Okay.
crisis,
COVID-19
on thought
is
of
the-
existential crisis, anxieties.
Scale to measure COVID-19, because COVID-19 is not a psychological variable. Okay, existential crisis might have a scale I am not aware of. You will have to search. But under such circumstances, you can definitely do a qualitative study. Again, you can split the sample of those who are having COVID and those who are not having COVID, or you can split the sample into those who are having mild or asymptomatic COVID, moderate and very severe. So you can split your sample as in whatever you want.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Eating breakfast has a positive impact on child's performance. People. Eating breakfast is not a psychological variable. So I'm sorry, I'm not dealing with this. Okay, please give me psychological variables. Procrastination can result into associative thinking. It might be. To study the effect of social media on social comparison. Okay. Now there is another factor that we have to consider, which is the population. So now you all have the variables. Okay, I will just pick up effect of sleep on happiness, for example. Now we need the population. Effect of sleep and happiness among whom? Okay, among those who are night shift workers, among those who have daytime shifts, among women, among men, among those who have depression, among those who have insomnia or hypersomnia, whatever. What is your population? So population is something that is not right or wrong. That is something of your interest. That is something which is again lacking in the data, in the field, and that is something on whom you want to study, right? So that is something that I leave it up to all of you. But remember, population is again of your interest, and it has to fulfill the gap that is there in the data and the field. Correct? Okay, great. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, I have a question from Arthi before. Arthi, you had something to ask, some basic query?
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear it.
Okay, ma'am. Actually, I have a basic query. See, what is the difference between the final year project and the researchers, ma'am? Actually, every master degree, we will do some project in the final year. What I felt is the researchers mean the next level of the project. Sorry, I can't get that word clearly.
Okay, I understood what you are asking me, but I think I'm not the right person to. Like I said, there are also certain institutes or universities and colleges who say theses, who say dissertation, who term it as a research project, who term it as a research research paper. So there are different terms that are used, right? Yes, there will be some slight differences in the two. There would be. I'm not saying that there will definitely be, but this is a query that you can actually put up to your professors or the person who has actually formed that particular curriculum. Because I personally I don't think I'm a correct person to answer this.
Okay. Actually, I entered in that course, ma'am. Just now, I entered in the course in MSc Psychology.
Okay.
Actually, that is a new field for me. It's okay, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, any more questions? We have 2 minutes left. If not, then we can definitely leave for the day.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, Riya.
Ma'am, am I audible?
Riya, please be a bit louder.
Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes.
So I have a doubt that, as you said, that quantitative studies can't be method of research can't be performed by forming questions on our own, right? We have to use a standardized test. So for qualitative study, can it be done by formulating questions on our own and circulating through Google Forms, or is the interview is the only method?
No, you can take it up through Google Forms. So, but Google Forms will still have a limit on how will they write. You will not get their non-verbal gestures to note about. So, yeah, in the current situation, we generally prefer doing it in an online interview with the video cameras on. But yes, Google Form could be one of the ways through which you can send them the questions. Right, there is a limitation to all the sources of data collection that is there. Interview will take a lot of time. Online is still a better choice when you want to know their gestures also. Google Forms will take less time but give you less information, probably less credible information. So you have to check on the limitations, the pros and cons of all the ways of data collection and then select the one that fits best for you. But your original query, Google Form is, as of now, it is okay in the current situations. Before that, when I completed my master's, for us, Google Form was never helpful because I did it in the proper offline old normal setup when these things were not even known by us. Okay. Health need assessment for people with mood disorder. Okay, you all are putting your topics now. Okay, fair enough. Okay, any more questions?
Ma'am, one more query I had. So, as you said that we need to know how much research is done in the specific area if we are choosing it as a topic. So, is there any site as of now so where we can put our variables or get to know that how much?
In general, you can Google about your variables. You will get certain research papers. You will have less number of links. It means that you have less data. Of course, now if I do a research and I don't publish it or put it on Google, you will not get it. That is a different story. I'm just talking about those that are there in the world out for everyone. And there you will understand once you Google, just check the difference between how much research is there on stress and depression, and just check the difference between how much research is there on some other new variable like hardiness or flow or psychological endurance or something like that. Just check the number of research articles after this session. You will understand the difference between the two. You can also check the differences between the population. So stress and depression among adolescents, stress and depression among women, men, bankers, police, etc., and say astronauts or pilots or some altogether like marine biologist or something like that. Just put that particular population and then you will understand how less research is there. You will yourself get the answer to this.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, thank you everyone. Please take care. Good night. Stay safe. See you all. And one more thing, we have long-term programs also, like a 5-day training program, or we had also started with 1-month training program. So if you all are interested in any topic under psychology, research or anything, please feel free to contact Chanakya and we will be definitely there to take up whatever you all want. Yeah?
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.